Boston Celtics, first to the floor. I'm joined by Sam LaFrance. Celtics win in maybe our favorite win of the season. It's hard to say. It's hard to top opening night, but the New York Knicks seem to be providing the template for the good vibes. Sam, how are we feeling?
I mean, I'm over the moon. I think I hate the Lakers more than any team, but the Knicks are a close second. Like the absolute worst. Fans think they're royalty. They would have had a parade tonight if they beat the Celtics. The Celtics went into the Garden, the fake Garden, and they humiliated the Knicks for the second time this season. This is a team that was supposed to be the big bad, the new kids that are going to compete with the Celtics. The Celtics have beat them by 1 billion in both the games that they played them. And this has just been, I mean, tonight was incredible.
It's perfect, man. I think, and we recently recorded How About Them Celtics. Make sure to check that out in the morning. So you may be watching this one first, even though this was recorded second. But welcome in, everybody. Make sure you're liking. Make sure you're subscribing. The How About Them Celtics and First to the Floor crossovers have been strong this season, especially over the last week. And we love it, especially on a night like tonight. Yeah, man, like this is a team, and they were missing OG Anunoby, which changes things for them. We're missing Porzingis, missing Drew Holiday. That's a wash. This is the team that is supposed to be a threat to the Celtics. This is, it's going to be really hard for these teams to not match up in the second round unless one of them loses in the first round. And as much consternation as there has been about the Boston Celtics this season, for some people, I have remained steadfast in my confidence in them. But even the Knicks are 4.5 games up on the Pacers. It's going to take a lot for the Pacers to leapfrog the Knicks. This is going to be most likely the matchup unless something really surprising happens. And we've got 2 examples right now of the Celtics just loving this matchup. And my theory with beating the Celtics has always been you have to be able to guard them. And Sam, we have what's 48 times 2? I can't do that maths right now. But 96? We got 96. Thank God you're here. 96 minutes of them having no chance of guarding the Celtics.
No chance. I mean, I think the Celtics put up 130 plus in both of these games. I could be wrong about opening night. If I'm wrong, I think it was very close. The Celtics shot the shit out of the ball on opening night. They barely could miss. Like, these were 2 games that I was just sitting there laughing. Literally laughing out loud. I was at a party with my friends tonight, a get together. I'm sitting there on my laptop watching the Celtics just sidestep, throw up a 3 from the courtside seats, and it goes in. Peyton Pritchard making a 3 as Precious Achua slips and falls and then tries to get back up. They couldn't miss. And they controlled this game from the opening tip. Like, the very first play is a Tatum poster. He kills Precious. And then later in the half, he breaks his ankles, whatever, and makes the 3. The Knicks had no chance at stopping Jason. He was dialed right from the beginning. He was dialed on opening night. There's something about playing this team, maybe he takes it a little personal, that they were kind of anointed to be like the other top team in the East, and they're supposed to compete with Boston, and he doesn't really take kindly to that because he has lit them up both times. And today was just like, hey, look at all the different things I can do. I'm going to dunk the ball more times than you see me dunk the ball. I'm going to make the 3s that everyone hates to watch me take. I'm going to make a couple mid-range fadeaways. I'm going to defend. They had no answer for him.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, if it's a good matchup for Jason Tatum, it's a bad matchup for the opposing team. And trade deadline happens, DeAndre Hunter conversation, off-season, this team, they've got OG Anunoby, they've got Mikal Bridges, and I get OG didn't play today, but people, I would think, have started to understand how the Celtics play offense. And it's not the same Celtics that lost in the finals in 2022, and even the team that lost to the team in the conference finals. But the way they attack matchups is way more sophisticated than it was before, and that's against teams that have good defenses. Like the Cavs have a top 10 defense, I think. They have the rim protection. Like in theory, that's a good defense. They have Garland on the court. That's a place where they're going to be able to unlock their offense. Doesn't matter if you have DeAndre Hunter. Doesn't matter if you have OG Anunoby. I don't think that Mikal Bridges is exactly someone you need to be avoiding anyway. But even so, OG Anunoby is really the only guy that can give these guys some trouble 1v1. But that doesn't matter. They're attacking Towns. They're attacking Brunson. And as long as your two best players, guys that are going to be playing 40 plus minutes a night in the playoffs in a series, are out there for Jason Tatum to tear completely apart, I just don't see how the matchup is tenable.
I mean, not for nothing, Daryl nails it on the head in the chat. He goes, Bridges guarding Tatum is laughable. We talked about it on the recording earlier. I'll try and stay away from the jokes I made there.
Yeah.
But like he's literally like doing fast feet exercises. Like he's like bouncing back and forth. He's got no idea what's going on. Tatum made 5 straight shots on him. Maybe not on him, but he scored 5 straight buckets towards the end of the third quarter to help balloon the lead back to 20. And Bridges was picking him up every time. He looked defeated. He literally, go back and watch it. He looks defeated trying to guard Jason Tatum. And they traded 5 first-round picks to bring him and OG in. Well, OG was already there. But they traded 5 to get Bridges. So they felt like they would have 2 guys that they could throw at the Jays and match up really well with them. They have done nothing to show that was worth doing yet.
2 games, Jason Tatum is averaging 38.5 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists on 78.8% true shooting. Like, he is just completely gone nuclear against his team in their 2 matchups. And speaking of Mikal Bridges, we've got a clip here from the Celtics blog playback room, which was essentially just like, I'll post the whole highlights online, but this clip from
got to get busy here. Sidestep 3.
I'm out, baby. Let's go.
He is tearing them apart. It was awesome. Like that third quarter, 19 points in the quarter was just masterful. And the way that he gets the ball on a yo-yo, and Towns is the perfect guy. Tatum's always kind of liked attacking Mitchell Robinson too, because he's not really a switch big and he's fine in drop coverage. But Towns is like, I mentioned on the show before, you got Draymond Green, Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis. Even Anthony Davis, Tatum has enjoyed playing against at times. There's a very limited amount of bigs in the NBA that can make Jason Tatum uncomfortable in drop coverage or have the ability to switch with him. And Towns is like on the complete wrong end of the spectrum here. And if that's going to be your second best player, I don't understand what you're supposed to do. And there's no solving this problem for the Knicks. And I was texting my dad after the game. My dad's, trying to temper expectations. He's like, I'm sure the Knicks will play better in the playoffs. I guess I'd be surprised if the Celtics left that series with a plus 30 average scoring margin. That would probably be not where I would bet. But on both ends of the court, on one end, they're comfortable attacking them. And defensively, this is the way the Celtics like to play defense. You have your lead ball handler in Jalen Brunson. Let's see if you can go for 50 on high efficiency. And that's really the only chance you have of beating us, because we're comfortable against Towns. We're not going to let you get to your pick and pop game. We're going to switch the Jays onto you. We're going to switch Queta. True Holiday's not even here. And you're going to end up with the 9 points is bad, but it's the field goal attempts. Like, He was 100% from the 3-point line, but he only got up 2 attempts. It's the fact that they don't even really let him get going that should be the concern for the Knicks fans on both ends for Towns.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, this was a day that kind of showed how one-dimensional the Knicks can be on that side of the ball. They are a team that should theoretically be a versatile defensive team, but they just haven't shown that against Boston for the reasons you laid out. Like, they do have very attackable guys out there that are supposedly going to be important to their offense. Brunson backpacked them in this game. Josh Hart did a great job of like kind of just doing what they ask of him, being in the right place at the right time to put the ball in the basket. Towns did nothing to initiate. They have no secondary real creator outside of Brunson right now. And you felt that today. Even in the first half when the Celtics were burying them, it was because the Knicks could get nothing going. The only way they were scoring was getting to the free throw line. I think through the first TV timeout, they hadn't made a single field goal. Their only points came at the foul line. The Celtics just had them in hell today. Both ends of the floor. They had no answer for the Celtics. And I'm kind of surprised the way these first two games have gone. I thought it'd be a little bit more competitive. Now you're like asking, I mean, there's a screenshot of the Knicks bench at the end of the game. These guys look like their confidence is just snatched out of their soul.
How could it not be? I mean, this is the team that you're going to see. And it's very obvious you don't have an answer for them in a variety of ways. Like, Jaylen Brown didn't even play well tonight. And this is a matchup that I think that he can play well in as well. And like, I don't want to do too much on Jaylen. He played bad tonight. It was a 4 turnover game. He wasn't in rhythm. But what I will say, defensively, I thought he picked it up in the second half. And he didn't force it. Like, he at least had the self-awareness, it felt like tonight, to be like, Tatum is going nuts. He also deferred to Pritchard, I thought, in the fourth quarter as well. So don't need to belabor it with Jaylen, but this is a matchup that he didn't dominate tonight, but I think he can dominate in the future.
He was sloppy, turned the ball over a lot, right? But like, that's like part of the beauty of this. Jaylen was not good. Really didn't give you his best punch today. And you mentioned it, like, no Kristaps, no Drew. And you still, like, we're up by 30-something, 35 in the fourth quarter. What do you have if you're New York? Like, this wasn't like everything went right for the Celtics land. This was, they just capitalized on what you were showing them, and they took this game. The Knicks fought back, and the Celtics immediately bolted away with the game. This is one of the most discouraging losses if you're New York. What can you do from this? What can you take from this and be like, well, this was great, and we have this? Like, if OG Anunoby is it a little bit easier for them to defend and switch? Yes, absolutely, undoubtedly, yes. But that's been the thing with this guy too. He has been an injury guy. That's part of what he is. Just like it is that with Kristaps, just like it's like that with Anthony Davis, who got hurt today playing in his Mavericks debut. There are guys in the NBA who are just more susceptible to becoming injured, and they have a history of it. And you're seeing it with the Knicks. They traded for a guy who is an incredible guy when he's on the floor, but the biggest story is how all their fans will tell you how great they are, what their record is when he actually does play. And that was not today.
Yeah, it's not good when you have to rely on one specific guy with an injury history. And I understand that Kristaps Porzingis is very important to the Celtics, but again, they pick up a win without him, and they obviously won the title with him playing like 3.5 playoff games. Moz, Matt, you missed a big win. Big win.
Did you also miss opening night, Moz?
I know. Yeah, I just say it looked very similar to opening night, so I would highly recommend going back and checking this one down. Tatum did more of his work in the third quarter as opposed to the first matchup where he went nuts in the first game. But yeah, the OG thing, like, it's great that your record's awesome with him, but to be relying on a guy, especially like, you just don't want to have one guy be like the entire switch flip. The record's good when he's in or bad when he's out. Like, the Celtics can kind of sustain anyone going down except for Jason Tatum, in my opinion. And I don't even know if we know that we can sustain it without him. We've just never really had to answer that question because he doesn't miss time. Knock on wood, knocking on all of the wood. But like Jaylen, for example, like, didn't have a great game. And to be fair, someone in the chat just mentioned that he started like 5 for 7. He was 5 for 9 in the first half and helped them build the lead. So, and that's what I think makes this team special, though, is it like, and why they were able to win the title last year is it's like Tatum's not having a good scoring night. It's going to be Jalen. It's going to be Derek. Like, it is a true team, and like they can sustain guys being injured or guys having bad games because they have guys picking them up, whether it's Pritchard or whether it's Kornet. Porzingis was out tonight. Luke Kornet was awesome tonight. This Celtics team just had one of their biggest wins of the season. Do you think there is anything to Kristaps being out tonight? And because the numbers have not been awesome as far as the overall team success since he's come back. They're yet to win. I know they did win 4 in a row with him. But do you think there's anything to style of play or anything like that? Because like maybe the pace with him is not being there. Because obviously this was awesome. Go ahead. Do you think there's anything Ewing theory, quote unquote, without Kristaps?
I don't think so with him. I think there was an obvious, evident rough patch when he comes back. Can't deny it. Go back to the beginning of December. Since then, it really hasn't been very pretty for Boston. The reason why it was like as bad as it was is because he was playing his way into shape. It was clear. He basically said as much when he came back against the Clippers that day and was like, I was exhausted out there. He was getting his legs back, and we kind of saw the progression. All of a sudden, this last month in January, he's a sniper from 3 again. He's hitting these bombs. He looks like Kristaps Porzingis from last year again. And the Celtics magically start to creep back up towards their expected win pace, at least in terms of what we all expect, what we want to see when we turn the TV on. They're starting to play more and more like that. Have they had the letdown spot losses? Yes, they have. It's
Correct.
Still a little bit of an issue because, they'll go and play in Miami on Monday, and if they beat Miami, you can bet your ass they're going to show up like they were drunk to play the Spurs on Wednesday. That's just how it's going to go. They have not been good at home. They've been disappointing at home. But I don't know if it directly correlates to Kristaps. I'm happy with the way that they played tonight in New York without him. I think Luke Kornet is just about as good as it gets in terms of the break glass in case of emergency, but not necessarily an emergency. You can just kind of trust him whenever. Like, he's incredible. Doris Burke kept saying on the broadcast, third big guy off the bench, whatever she kept saying that people were tweeting about. It's true. This is like the guy that plays like 18 minutes a game for Boston, and then you plug him in the starting lineup and he's getting a double-double with 3 blocks against an elite big man in Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit torn on it because like KP, I've been saying like when they were struggling and the numbers were indicating that since he came back that they were not good, I was like, the reason for that is because Jalen and Derek are just like in the toilet right now. And once they come back up, it's going to kind of all even out.
That's true.
I don't know, like if there's something to forcing it to him a little bit too much in the post, because it does kind of slow the pace down. It does kind of kill the ball movement a little bit. And I kind of like the best version of the Celtics is like Tatum running the show, in my opinion. And that doesn't just mean he took 26 shots tonight. And I know we've been over like the usage. When the usage is high for Tatum, the Celtics win all their games. And that does go up in the playoffs. But I wonder if there's something to a little bit just like, instead of like forcing it to Porzingis, just letting it happen a little more naturally in the flow and kind of let Tatum do his thing, play make, get to the right spots, and then let that be secondary. It's just something that I think we should monitor going forward. And again, I think this is a matchup thing where like, Tatum looks so good. And obviously KP didn't play in the first Knicks game for opening night. The Celtics also went 4-1 last year against the Knicks in multiple games where Kristaps played. I just think it's something to monitor as far as like getting stuck in the mud. But I can't put too much on it. I'm not going Ewing theory with Kristaps. He's been so good defensively as well. But Luke Kornet in the short role, and like finishing lobs, 100% from the field, making quick decisions. Exactly. Got the goggles going. Like, I don't know. There might be something a little bit to Kristaps playing like 15% more like Luke Kornet, dare I say.
I like that. It's actually a pretty good point. Nice meme in the chat says pretty much the same thing. He's shooting every time he's on the post. And I think that's pretty true. I think Kristaps is looking to score when he gets the ball at the free throw line, which he should. I think he is pretty elite from that section of the floor. Every time he gets it there and puts it up, I think it's going in, which is not something I can say for everybody on the team from every spot on the floor. I think there is a lot to be said about Jalen and Luke shooting like they are me and my friends from three since Kristaps has come back. And sure, that could correlate. Yeah, Derek has been back. Back again today. He's officially he's been back. He's been great for the last 6 or so games. But during the cold stretch, he was cold. Jalen was cold. A lot of guys were cold. Even Pritchard was taking steps back, and he wasn't quite putting up the same sort of production that you'd seen from him in the early months. It's been an up and down offensive season for the Celtics, and that is directly correlated to whether or not they win games. They have said as much in the press conferences. A lot of their answers feel a lot like, what do you want out of us? We're not making shots. What could we possibly do to win basketball games? Which can be frustrating at times. But we've also seen happy flashes lately where they've not been their best offensively and still won basketball games because they've done other things to affect the game. So that sort of thing is there. It's looming large. It should make you feel good. And I truly don't think there should be anything to worry about with Kristaps. I think you can point at a bunch of different things and be like, they were trying to get him reacclimated. They might have been forcing it too much to try and, expedite that process, make it easier for him to get more comfortable, get him used to the game speed and the game decision reads at that speed. There's a lot that goes into it. My verdict is I just don't think it's his fault.
Yep, I think that's fair. It is something I'm monitoring. And just maybe a little more quick decisions. That's what I love so much about Luke, man. The ball just zips around when it's Tatum in the bench lineups and he's finding him in the short roll, out to Derek, out to Pritchard. I definitely think there's something to that. And Porzingis is absolutely capable of doing that. He has made some incredible passes. He's a great decision maker as well. Just something to monitor. But yeah, you just reminded me of the Celtics having no ability to impact the outcome of a game if their shots aren't falling. The good news about this matchup as well, the Knicks are literally last in the NBA in opponent three-point shooting. They are allowing opponents to shoot 38% from three, and that is really bad news against the Boston Celtics. If you are the worst team in the NBA at defending the three-point line, then you're going to lose. You're going to lose a series. I didn't even know that until I saw a tweet about it and I looked it on NBA.com. 38.2% on shots 24 plus feet away. Literally last. Next is the Kings, the Nets, the Pistons. The Magic are in there surprisingly. The Hawks, the Sixers, the Pelicans
should also be surprising.
Yeah. The Wizards. And by the way, the Cavs are in that list as well at the 10 or 11 range. So great news for the Celtics, but the Knicks being literally dead last. Just something that I thought I would note. Moving on to, we'll get back to Luke Kornet a little bit as well here, but Peyton Pritchard. Dude was back. In the instant reactions, I kind of roasted him a little bit for saying he's a bit of a garbage time merchant. I did forget that he actually had 14 points in the second quarter. So I have to apologize to Peyton Pritchard, pay my respects. But this is what you need. You need an aggressive Pritchard.
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned that second quarter was huge because Boston was kind of not reeling, but we talked about Campaign on the other show. And it's just Campaign came in towards the end of the first quarter and was making shots and scoring and kind of keeping the Knicks afloat. And Peyton Pritchard did his part for the Celtics, making sure the Knicks kept themselves far away. He made a couple threes. He created some shots. He was mixtape P. He was on fire. And when he's on fire, I still feel like he's one of the most fun guys in the league to watch. I think you're going to see something exciting. I think his confidence is otherworldly at times. And tonight we got a flash of that, especially in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, Peyton Pritchard tonight. You want to call him a garbage time merchant? Fine. Because he did do some big balls, confidence type things in garbage time. But he still needed to show up when they were trying to finish the job, close everything out, and get to where you could actually call it garbage time. And he did that, which we should all be very proud of him for. A+.
Yeah. Yes. And that's, I get frustrated with players when I think that they're doing something that's like negatively impacting the team that's within their control. And I got really annoyed with Pritchard in the Mavericks game. Oh, here we go. Rivens. Yeah, do you think Peyton played bad in the Mavericks game? What I really pissed me off was that I thought his hesitancy early in the game cost the Celtics several possessions, because you have to, like, anytime you get opportunities to get good looks, you got to take them. And like he has been empowered to be this guy now. And when the team expects him to be that guy and have that confidence, when he comes out and doesn't play like that, you get yourself into bad spots. You get yourself into turnovers. You ended up getting worse shots, like fade away in the corner, like no shots that don't have chances to go in. So like, I need you to be aggressive. You're getting advantages created for you by Tatum or by yourself that earlier in the season you've been taking and capitalizing on. I don't care as much when you miss the shots, but when there is like open looks and open spaces, I need you to take them. And when you don't, that's what pisses me off, because you're actually hurting the team by not doing that. And then as soon as they were down by 26 points and the Celtics benched all their dudes, he goes nuts in garbage time. I thought it was ridiculous.
So I'll kind of like play both sides of the fence on this. I think you have a point.
Not allowed.
Well, I think both sides are right. I think you have a good point where he was a big part of why the Celtics weren't able to get anything going in the first half. Like, not being confident in yourself is not why Peyton Pritchard is on the floor. He's on the floor because he's the kind of guy who will take a logo 3 in a game 3 of a playoff series in Cleveland when he's barely taken any shots throughout and fucking drill it when the Cavs are climbing back. He's the kind of guy that can go in a scoring outburst at MSG and pull away from the Knicks. There's no reason for him to be passive out there. He has the ultimate green light. I don't think anybody's getting upset at him for taking shots. At the same time, the reason why I'm not willing to say garbage time is not so much so that the game was not out of reach, because it was 27 points in the fourth quarter. Like, it would take a miracle to come back from that. But I, at the time, thought it was really weird that Dallas didn't pull their starters. And I was like, is this a Kyrie thing? Like, he hasn't played well tonight and wants to pad his stats. And kids like, yeah, let's run it up on him because they beat us in the finals. Or like, people think we're going to be screwed without Luka, or whatever the thing that they were stuck on was. It could have been anything. And despite the personnel that was still out there for the Mavs, Pritchard was going at him and cooking and kind of leading the charge back. And I think that's not nothing. I don't think it should make you forget about, oh yeah, like he was really playing strange earlier in the game. But regardless, I think the garbage time ultimately was beneficial because it seemed to carry over today. Like, he was like, yeah, I'm that dude. That's right. I can just pull threes whenever I want. And they're going to go in. And he showed it in the second quarter, showed it in the fourth quarter, and was the second leading scorer for the Celtics on a night that was a marquee game. This was an exciting game. You said to me on the other show, as a neutral going in, you think you're going to see good ball, competitive environment. He was ready for it.
Wrong,
but he was ready.
He was ready. Yeah, the people that were excited to sit down, national TV game, watch the Knicks and the Celtics, I guess the Knicks did cut it to 3 in the third quarter, and that was an incredible response. That was essentially a Jason Tatum response. Was like, no, that's not happening. But yeah, look, and honestly, that Pritchard, that garbage time, he did kind of say that helped him kind of get some extra confidence and feel good going into the next game. I will say, so, and like, the Celtics just need some bench scoring. As much as I love Al Horford, he's not really giving you that at the moment. Hauser, while statistically he's starting to shoot the ball a lot better, definitely wouldn't say he's been as consistent this year. So like, Pritchard's the guy. And Luke Kornet's kind of becoming the guy too, who we'll talk about in a second here. But Pritchard, man, do you want to guess what he's shooting from the corners this year?
Oh, man. I haven't even given this any thought at all. I feel inclined to say like 50+%. So I'm going to go with it.
So right corner 51, left corner 41, but he shot a lot more in the right corner. So it's like, it's probably around 46-ish%, 47%. from the corners, and that has been something that I truly can rely on. Like in that second quarter, that was where a lot of his points came from. I think he hit 2 like when he's like wide open. He's knocking those shots down, especially from the corners, and that's just he's gonna get a couple of those shots per game, even if the other stuff isn't happening. Just obviously very valuable. So Pritchard's fantastic, giving you some bench scoring. Now, Rivens. The playback takes Rivens has like an obsession with Peyton Pritchard, and I understand he's a small fellow just like me, seeing small people succeed in the NBA. But the playback, the takes in the moment,
reality, he's like my size.
Yeah. Well, you've been near him. How
I'm
close to his
a little
6'1"?
taller than he is.
He's listed at 6'1". Do you think that's accurate?
Yes.
Wow, I would have gone under. All right, 6'1".
Maybe 6 feet.
Man, these NBA players are tall because they make Peyton Pritchard look awfully small. But bench scoring, and Luke Kornet wasn't off the bench today, but I kind of count his production as like bonus bench production.
Mm-hmm.
He's really starting to give you real numbers. And tonight, 14 points, 12 rebounds, 5 of which were offensive, an assist, a steal, 3 blocks, 7 for 7, 100% from the field. The dude's just fucking good now.
Yeah, he's legit good. So Jack has like the best analogy for Luke Kornet where he calls him vanilla ice cream because you can always go and get vanilla ice cream, know what you're getting, never be disappointed. And that's essentially his job. Just don't disappoint anybody. Just go out there and be solid. Do whatever the team needs you to do. You don't have to do too much. Tonight was like he exceeded expectations by so much, but he still didn't like do anything spectacular. He's not taking threes. He's catching and finishing at the rim. He's just a safety valve underneath. And on defense, he's been somebody you can kind of trust to be in the paint, not really foul that much. He did get into foul trouble today, and he's a big body that sets good screens and hits the glass. Perfect guy to be a role player on a team with Jason Tatum. Tatum and Kornet play really well together. Kornet, like you mentioned, has been excellent as a short roll man. That has been a trend that we have all seen since the first preseason game. The first preseason game, you're sitting there watching it. They're playing in Abu Dhabi, and you're like, this is a revelation. Kornet is just dotting guys up from the free throw line. What is this? Glad to see it's still a thing.
I love this from Moz in the chat. Pair him with some apple pie, and he's elite. Jason Tatum.
Jason's apple pie?
I guess Jason's apple pie. I love apple pie. I love apple pie and vanilla ice cream. Yeah. We've got cookies and cream. Is this vanilla and apple pie? So it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue in the same way.
Tres leches too. You just get all the desserts.
It doesn't. It definitely is not as easy to say as cookies and cream. The amount of syllables in vanilla ice cream and apple pie is slightly longer.
I like that. That makes it better.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. I'm not the biggest cookies and cream guy when it comes to the nickname. Big cookies and cream ice cream guy, but the nickname I can kind of take or leave. Apple pie and vanilla ice cream. I think we might be onto something here. But yeah, man, Luke Kornet. If he was on the Lakers, as by the way, in the middle of the game today, the Mark Williams to Los Angeles Lakers trade fell through due to a failed physical from Mark Williams. He's heading back to Charlotte, and Dalton Connect coming back with those draft picks to LA, which I honestly can't remember a big trade like that falling through. Like the Caleb Martin to Dallas trade, the team just ended up sending an extra pick back because Caleb Martin's not ready to play. This must have been like quite a bad physical. But my point is, Luke Kornet on the Lakers instead of Jackson Hayes as their starting center would actually like Luka and Luke Kornet would just be a ridiculous pick and roll combination, dude. You pair Luka with really smart lob threats and guys in the short roll, you're going to make magic, similar to how Tatum and Luke are doing this year. So he's become a dude that I'm now genuinely concerned that we're going to lose in the offseason because you're not going to be able to offer him more. Your max you can offer him is 140% of what he's currently getting paid, I'm pretty sure. Unless you're able, you clear a bunch of salaries and you end up with your mid-level exception, which I don't think is going to happen. Yeah, man. Unless Luke Kornet just loves playing here so much, and $3.2 million is still $3.2 million. But I know on the Garden report, Bobby mentioned that there was like an $8 million deal that he may have turned down, which is pretty wild that he turned down that much money to stay in Boston. So maybe that fills me with some hope. But he's like someone I now feel like it's a big deal that he's now one played well against Cleveland this week, one played awesome against New York, two teams that you're like very likely going to see in the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah. So just think about like the Luke contract. One, you said it, like he turned down a bigger contract to stay. I wonder how much of that is like I want to go and make one more run of the championship before I go and try and get my money. But there's also part of it where if you did clear cap and sign him to a mid-level exception, then this all becomes a little bit more less exceptional because then you're like, well, we're paying him this much money and he needs to produce this much to be worth the money. It's kind of like the same thing that the rest of the NBA is going through. A lot of it is at the top right now, but like just look at like this is a crazy example to compare to Kornet, but like Tobias Harris in Philly is making a near max, and he's like fine, but he's not worth $40 million. Good. Now he's on the Pistons, and the Pistons are like fine with him. And he's just doing Tobias Harris stuff for Tobias Harris money. Everyone likes it. I think Luke is somebody you could justify paying more money to. I don't think people would be like, wow, I can't believe he makes $8 million. Can you believe that, Jake? It would be fine. I'm on the fence of whether or not I think he would leave, or maybe he just really, really does like playing for the Celtics. I'm unsure.
I would imagine he fucking loves playing for the Celtics. He played against the team. Did the Knicks draft him? I think so. And
I know he definitely played there.
He definitely played for them. He had like hit like 6 or more threes playing for the Knicks, and he bounced around the league. He was literally out of the league. The Celtics saved him, man. He is now going to have a 5-6 year NBA career because of the Boston Celtics and because of Brad Stevens and his chemistry with Jason Tatum. So, and he has a family, and we've joked about him paying off his mortgage in Boston, and Tatum actually letting Luke Kornet down by not winning. Maybe if you would win the NBA Cup, we wouldn't have to worry about Luke Kornet leaving.
He'll devastate the cup.
Yeah, get Luke Kornet those NBA Cup money. But yeah, that's a question and some details that we got to work out in the offseason. I'm not sure how many teams have mid-level exceptions. Are they going to be willing to pay Luke Kornet, et cetera, et cetera? But the fact that this is now a concern, whereas last season I was like, I'm not sure I see it, and I'm not worried about it. But now I'm like, dude, he can just play 20 minutes a night for us in the regular season and somewhat in the playoffs, and we're going to be able to smoke teams.
There's also part of the Luke leaving thing that, like, you think about it and you're like, if he's not playing with Jason Tatum, is he as effective? Is he one of the guys that benefits from playing with Tatum? Is Tatum making him better? I kind of think yes. I still think his skill set is effective with other good teams. I think there's a chemistry here that he may not want to leave. I don't know. I don't have – it's a tough thing because I think there's real legs on both sides. I think obviously you want more money, especially being a guy that's never really gotten a big contract. It's funny that – also, not for nothing, it's funny that a guy that's been like a minimum guy his whole career is the one that's willing to take a pay cut and be like, yeah, I'll play for nothing. Like, you think – This is now like a tangent, but you think like more of these big name guys just be like, you know what? I actually don't care. Like, give me the minimum and make our team good.
I've been talking about this for years. It does not make sense to me, especially the guys at the top where like Brunson kind of did it, but like
respect,
like Jalen and Jason, right? They took the full supermax, and I can't fault them for it. But like, what's the difference between making $60 million a year and making $50 million a year? Or 40. Like, what's the difference in your life? I not something that I can answer, obviously, but like, I find it hard to believe that your quality of life is really changing between when you're earning $40 million a year, not to mention endorsements, and $60 million a year. Like, you're, especially like Tatum, who's like a family dude. Like, I don't know exactly what you're missing out on exactly. And so it's interesting that Luke Kornet, in my opinion, where I've made decisions in my life to focus more on like, you know, my life being good as opposed to focusing on just money. And like, I think people should do that if it's, afforded to them. And it's interesting that like Luke Kornet, in my opinion, it's like kind of got his priorities in order a little bit. It's really an interesting discussion because I'm like, one, you get to choose where you want to play. Your family's maybe grown up in a certain place. I guess the flip side of it is we just had the deadline and Dennis Schroeder was on like 4 different teams in the span of like an hour. So like on one hand, it's like, yeah, I'm here and there. But that's the thing about being on a minimum. It's like, and on a second apron team, they can't really trade you for anything anyway. So you don't have to run that risk. Maybe Luke Kornet can get a no trade clause if he's willing to take a $3 million deal.
That'd actually be like an absolute dog negotiation for Luke Kornet
sick.
to be like no trade clause,
That'd
not
be
wait
sick.
a minute. I would love
sick.
that for him.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this in the comments from Brian, where the Players Association would not be happy with top guys taking pay cuts. I think I agree with you, but also with the new CBA, I think it's naturally going to happen. You're seeing guys get bounced around the league right now. Like effectively, Luka was traded because the Mavs didn't trust whatever trends they were seeing enough to be like, yes, we would like to pay him a supermax, which sounds asinine, and I still think it is. But the fact that the new CBA scared them enough to be like, I don't know if I trust Luka. Look what happened to Brandon Ingram. Not that he like got screwed, but he effectively sat out a lot of the season because him and the Pelicans couldn't reach an extension because they didn't want to pay him. The Jimmy thing. They don't want to pay Jimmy in Miami. Jimmy lights the bridge on fire. This is already happening. I think they're going to have some like looking in the mirror to do some of these players because not every player that people think is good can get paid the way that they think they should get paid to have a successful roster built.
Yeah, I do remember now that there is something with Luke Kornet and having a no trade thing. T-Mac in the comments has mentioned it here, but give him another one. You can retire a Celtic, man. The fact that he has this chemistry with Tatum, he can have whatever he wants within reason, honestly. Like he's like the the evolved version. I don't want to fully go the Charizard version of Daniel Tice, but like the like backup replacement level big man. Like Tice was awesome, and to be fair, Tice actually was a starter on a conference finals team, so he probably actually has the belt over Luke Kornet right now. But yeah, man, bring him back. We can probably move on a little bit from Luke Kornet. Should probably just give a quick shout out to Queta because I know people are probably listening to this being like, Jake, we want to hear you apologize for your Neemias Queta slander. So it's only fair that I acknowledge that Queta was great tonight. Had Towns in hell at times, 4 for 7 from the field. I still lose my mind on the 3 misses he had. Probably were all like wide open dunks under the rim, and the 4 makes that he had were like more difficult touch reverse layup shots that he did make, but went 3 for 4 from the free throw line, which I love. Monster rebounds. I'm happy. Queta, you proved me wrong. You owned me today.
Not a bad day to be owned because they needed him to own somebody, and he owned multiple people. He owned Towns. He owned you. Not bad. Not a bad start for Neemi off the bench. And Neemi is such a hit or miss guy because you can get a game like this where he is, for the most part, solid, or you can get a game where he goes out there and has 3 fouls in 2 minutes. Either way, you can get something. I was surprised he didn't get like abused as much on defense because there was a state early in the third quarter. I guess like the Knicks did storm back and Luke had gotten into foul trouble, but he was out there for the taking. It didn't feel like they got their stretch run to get back in the game through exclusively going at him. There were some buckets, like I know Bridges went at him, Brunson went at him, but it was not like repetitious every single play. This guy's a revolving door type thing.
No, man, he gave you 26 minutes and it was solid. Like, I gotta tip my hat. Like, it's not pretty a lot of the time, but he hustled. He got an awesome block in transition, busting his ass, getting back. Yeah, defensively, it wasn't a disaster, and like he was actually really good at times. So, shout out Neemi. He had a really nice short roll pass to the corner. I think it was to Pritchard, which is a pass that I'm not sure he would have made earlier in the season. But yeah, man, he's really solid. He was really solid tonight. My only note, a negative from the game, Tillman, and and it's not even necessarily just Tillman, but Joe went to a Queta Tillman lineup for 5 minutes and 55 seconds which led to Tillman being a -12 for the game. And why, man? Why? That's like the double big lineup, even with Queta and Luke, I was like, but it works because Luke's like pretty versatile now offensively and has this chemistry offensively where it can work. At least it did today. But like, just play like he went away from Hauser in that moment. Play Walsh in that moment. Play Peterson in that moment. Double bigs with Queta and Tillman. It doesn't make any sense theoretically. It hasn't made any sense practically. And you're just setting Tillman up to fail. Like, you threw him out there, so maybe his knee was feeling good, but like, put him as the lone big. He's not a power forward. He's never been a power forward. You're setting him up to fail. It's really unfair. And he ends the game with 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, and 1 missed 3. And I don't think it's fully his fault.
He just hasn't. I don't know. There's something about the Tillman situation that it just feels unfair because it's like one of those cycles, never-ending cycles. Tillman doesn't play. Tillman gets in the game. Tillman isn't ready because he didn't play. Tillman doesn't play because he didn't play well. Tillman doesn't play well because he didn't play, and he doesn't have a feel for the game or the confidence to get his shots up. Like, there were stretches this year where he's getting open looks from 3 and doesn't even shoot them. At least he shot today. Like, I know that's what Jack thought when he saw Tillman take his one wide open 3 and not make it. It was like, well, at least he shot the ball. I really don't like that Tillman has fallen this deeply out of the rotation because the addition of him at the deadline last year was exciting because you had a new backup big man type that you could turn to in specific situations. And having that sort of thing just at your disposal is great. They have 5 big men on the roster right now, and it feels like they only have 4. Like Brookie G like forgets that he's on the team sometimes, but it's actually true where it's like Missoula forgets he's on the team, and not for like a bad reason. Like, he just hasn't played well. He's played so poorly that you can't justify playing him in real minutes. Like you said, like, why would you even bother throwing him out there? You knew it wouldn't go well.
It's tough, man. I was like really high on Tillman coming out of the finals. Like, he did everything that he was billed as. Like, switchable defender, able to like guard a variety of positions. And that's the thing. As a 5, he can do some of the things Luke Kornet can do. Not quite as well, but like, he can make plays in the short roll. He has a nice little floater, but he's not able to do any of these things playing the 4 next to someone like Queta. Like, next to Horford, fine. At least Horford can shoot, and that makes it a little bit more sense with Horford at the 4. Yeah, we're never going to forget Tillman, man. That 3 that he hit in the finals, that game 3 in the finals on the road, he switched onto Kyrie, switched onto Luka. Monster performance. It's insane that he did that and now can't do anything. It's confounding. I also don't think he's being set up to succeed, but we'll finish positive here.
I want to speak on the JB shoes quick because there's
go
a
ahead.
Hondo comment here.
Yeah.
The shoes suck and it's affecting his play. Maybe for Jalen, but Pritchard's been wearing those shoes all year. Pritchard's having the best year of his career.
Someone else is wearing them, maybe? Is it just those 2? Well, yeah. Well, he's been literally the best.
He almost
player
dunked on a guy today.
He always almost stunks on someone.
That's how Jalen started. Don't forget.
Exactly, dude. He's gonna be long Jalen eventually. But yeah, look, I enjoyed Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce talking about the shoes. Mara Irene in the chat got your 741s in the mail. We love it. I'm a Tatum's guy when it comes to the shoes, but I love everybody. Yeah, I don't have any of them yet, but I will be getting some eventually. But I currently have Jordans that are great for me. I played great in pickup the other day, so I don't really need new ones, but I would love new Tatums, obviously.
I have the 3s. I love them.
Yeah,
I love the 1s. Didn't like the 2s. The 3s are great again. I would like to try the 741s because I'm curious to. I actually like want to ask one of the assistants like off the record what he thinks of them.
Right.
Because they will like wear them to like shoot around. I'm sure he likes them because he always wears them. I am curious like what the deal is with the 741s. I'm glad you like them, Irene.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. Like I don't think you'd be wearing them if they weren't good. But yeah, it's hard for me to assign the performance to the shoes. Jalen after the All-Star break, that's when we're gonna get going. That's where he's gotten going the last couple of seasons. But Sam, this is the good life. Jason Tatum, 40-point masterclass, complete destruction of our supposed Eastern Conference rival. Like, this is. I'm glad the Celtics are turning up for the important games. I can accept the games that they don't care about. If they're going to win the games that are big, then whatever, dude. I don't care. We're not going to play bad teams in the playoffs. We're going to play good teams in the playoffs. They seem to beat all the good teams, especially in the Eastern Conference. Keep doing what you're doing, Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I will join you in that club. I think they should win every game. But if you promise me you'll beat the Knicks, I mean, they didn't beat the Lakers, which was annoying. But if you promise me you'll beat like the teams I hate, then yeah, you can lose to the Raptors. You have my permission.
Okay. All right, we're in. I like this strategy. Keep beating the teams that are really good, and everyone's going to be happy because they're not trying against the other teams. What I would say, can we just rest Tatum in the games that it feels like they're going to lose for no reason? Because there's no point in playing him in there. He's currently 4th in the NBA in total minutes. It's too many. It's too many. Celtics are now 2.5 games, I think, up on the New York Knicks, which might be a bad thing because they are now 21-6 on the road. But whatever, just beat the Knicks on the road. I guess they're undefeated against the Knicks at home as well. Everybody, Sam, I appreciate you. Check out How About Them Celtics in the morning when that show drops. We actually did a pretty good job, I think, of having a kind of a different show, despite doing the same show 2 different times. So I would implore people to check out that episode as well. All right, everybody, till next time, go Celtics.